This is the story of a life lost far too early and the incredible life-saving legacy that they left behind. A massive search and rescue effort and an incredible educational outreach program. This is the story of 9-year-old Jimmy Beveridge and the founding of an educational program that has saved countless lives. Now, if you're a parent, I hope you watch this video and take what you learn and teach your family and loved ones. That's what this video is all about. In 1981, young Jimmy went missing after a hike with his brothers on Palomar Mountain. That's about an hour outside of San Diego. It's a place that the locals love to hike and camp. After about an hour of searching, his parents called for help, and help arrived in the form of the largest search and rescue effort San Diego County had seen in its history up until that point. Over 400 people joined in the search, including 200 Marines, as a major Marine Corps base was in the area. Unfortunately, even with these large numbers, this was no easy task. There were many factors working against this rescue team. For one, the terrain was incredibly steep and rocky, and this made it really dangerous for the rescuers gritting out on foot. Those are the people blowing whistles, calling out his name and trying to find him. That means they had to move slow. And the weather didn't help. It was cold, it was rainy, it was foggy. This not only increased the risk to young Jimmy's life, but it hampered helicopter rescue efforts. They couldn't fly or they couldn't see. It also washed away the sense that the bloodhounds, the search and rescue dogs, were using to try and find this boy. Now, despite this massive effort and everyone trying as hard as they could, risking their lives, bringing the Marines in, hundreds of people, helicopters, news broadcasts, everybody doing their best, they couldn't stop what happened to young Jimmy. Just a few days into the search, a hiker stumbled across young Jimmy's body, curled up next to a tree at the bottom of a very steep ravine. The coroner ruled the death by accidental injury and hypothermia. It appears he fell down the ravine, took a severe head injury, and succumbed to hypothermia. It goes without saying that this was a tragedy, and a lot of things went wrong in that young man's life in those final few days. But this video isn't just about what went wrong. As a former first responder, what we're trying to do here is a bit of a public AAR, after action review of sorts. That's when we take an overview of the incident from start to finish, find out what went right, what went wrong, what we can do better to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And that is the objective. Though this incident marked the end of Jimmy's life, it marked the beginning of his legacy. 44 years plus later, we're still speaking his name. And that's because of these AARs and the case studies that were done and the vested interest of the public and these professional rescuers. Now, you see, this is where the legacy part begins. Some of the responders involved in this decided to work together to comb meticulously through the details of this incident to find ways to do better and educate the youth to make sure that this doesn't happen to anyone else. Two men in particular, the legendary tracker Ab Taylor and photographer Tom Jacobs, both of who were on this search, are credited with the founding and development of the Hug a Tree and Survive program. What makes this program so special and why it's still taught today is its effectiveness. You see, it's designed to be taught to children, so it's easy for kids to understand and it's easy for parents to teach. It's based on 4 principles that were learned the hard way based on this and many other case studies. The first is always tell an adult where you're going. This way, if the child does become lost, it's going to make it easier for the parent to give instructions to the rescue team where to start their search. That can save a lot of time. 2 is hug a tree and stay put. That's where the program gets its name from, and it's really important. Make sure that you let the child know if you ever become lost, if we become separated, if you don't know where you are, stay put. We will find you. Of course, trees will also provide shelter, a wind block, protection from the rain and snow. So it's a really good principle to stick by. Young Jimmy was found a few miles away, but much younger children were found much farther away. And we only need to look to recent history to confirm this. Just this year, a 2-year-old toddler from Seligman, Arizona was found 7 miles away from his home after wandering off by a rancher's dog who he curled up next to, curled up alongside, and stayed warm for the night. And that was the only thing that saved the child's life from hypothermia. And in a story that's, I guess, fit for a Disney movie, the dog actually walked the child back to the rancher's home. I know it sounds crazy, but it's all documented. You can look this up. And that's why after action reviews and case studies are important. And it's these kind of case studies that they pulled from to explain the importance of staying put, teaching a child to staying put. Don't try and find your way home. You're already lost. Stay put, call out, listen to calls, and we'll find you. And I think we can all agree it's a lot easier for trained search and rescue professionals to find a lost child than a lost child to find their way through the wilderness back home. Next is the keep warm and dry principle. They found Jimmy's coat discarded. So it was hot in the day there and cold in the evening. So what they're theorizing is he got hot during the hike, left his coat on the ground, continued on, where hypothermia got him much later in the evening when he was immobilized by the tragic head injury and probably catastrophic fall. So what that means for all of you parents and educators is out there is make sure you let the child know that if you get hot and you feel the need to take your jacket off or your shirt off, make sure that you keep it with you because outdoor temperatures can change greatly from day to night. They also encourage, according to the age of the child, teaching them how to build some type of shelter. Ground insulation is important. Laying on the cold ground can rob you of your body heat and make it easier to succumb to hypothermia. So teaching the child how to make a nest of sorts, just gather together the pine needles or leaves on the ground or grasses, just enough to protect them from the hard ground, can actually lead to them saving their lives. The final principle is help rescuers find you by answering their calls. You see, young children, whether they went off without telling you, they may think they're in trouble. They hear people calling out their name. They may think that, these are the people that are going to punish me. They're going to tell my mom and dad I'm going to get into trouble, and I'm afraid. So you have to make sure, let them know if you're ever lost, no matter what got you there, you're not going to be in trouble. It's okay. You're not going to be punished. If you hear people calling for you when you're lost, we sent them there. Mom and dad, whoever, we sent them there. They're there for you. They're going to bring you back to us. You'll be okay. You're not in trouble. It's important that you make it home, and that's all that counts. This program and its educational outreach has saved countless lives, and there is proof, there is documentation. You could take the case of young Eli Fordham, which occurred just 3 years after this incident. 4-year-old Eli had attended a Cub Scout meeting where this was taught, and he wandered off in the Sierra Nevada from his family in just a swimsuit and a t-shirt from a lake, probably wet, and survived 24 hours in the mountains. And he realized once he was lost, you know what? Stop walking, stay put. And he talks about it in interviews and articles. So this can all be verified. This has saved lives. And Eli actually credits this training with saving his life. You see, even at 4 years old, because he had went through this training, he realized, I'm lost. Go ahead and hug a tree. It was easy for his 4-year-old mind to understand. And when one of his searchers came across him around 24 hours later, he didn't hesitate to call out and respond. So this is proven. This isn't just theory. These 4 principles, this basic training, saves children's lives. Now, there was actually one more lesson to be learned from this incident. The child's godfather, one Eric Ennell, a retired police captain, actually tried to join in the search on his own and became missing himself. Of course, the child's search and rescue took precedent. And once his remains were found, the majority of rescuers went home. And oddly enough, 8 members of a Navy survival school found Mr. Ennell, what we call cliffed out, where he had been going up or down these steep ravines and rocky cliffs to a point where he couldn't up climb or down climb anymore and was basically pinned in the area. And luckily, he was found alive. He almost perished the same way. So as inspired as you may be to go out and search by yourself, make sure that you are familiar and qualified to enter the terrain that you're going to be searching, and don't try and interfere with rescuers. We had a saying when I was a firefighter: we don't bring victims to the scene. It's important to not make things worse by your presence. That's why we have professionals. So, as selfless and honorable as it may be to attempt an effort, if your personal efforts hinder the greater good, hinder the greater search and rescue, you're not helping anybody. You're not doing anything to make things better. You're only making things worse. So, as hard as it may be for some of us to sit by and watch, if there are this many professionals out there, just let them do their job. It's most likely going to work out better that way for everybody involved. So, I am a professional wilderness survival instructor. I've been doing it for 17 years now. I provided official training to the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps. They can all be documented on my website. They've all given us letters of appreciation, challenge coins, all that wonderful stuff. So what I'm here for is education. There's a lot of really entertaining YouTube channels, but I'm hoping that there's room for some that feel a little bit more like you're in a classroom than sitting in front of the TV. And if that's what you want to do, if that's what if you're here to learn, then I hope you like, comment, share, or something like that below. And I have to say, this was a hard topic to cover. I can't imagine the loss that these people suffered, and that the people that had to, go recover the physical remains, what they had to go through. So I hope I did it some justice. I hope we can all learn from this and make sure that no one ever goes through it again. Thank you for watching this video.